This is Map Show Night, and I'm excited to be with you. And I trust that what I share with you this evening is going to be extremely valuable for you and help you to continue on your journey of purpose. Purpose is such an exciting topic, and I think it's something that everybody is seeking. A friend of mine, Dr. John Stanko, talks about the purpose quest, and I would encourage you to track him down on social media and connect with him, because I'm sure that you will be able to learn a tremendous amount from John as he shares his experience from 1991 when he began the purpose quest. Last week, we had a topic called Stuck on Purpose, and I shared a few ideas with you, and the panel shared their insights. But tonight, we're going to be talking about something slightly different. And of course, that is about be purposeful. And we are talking specifically about the bee. And I'm sure that many of you have experienced a bee in your lifetime. And so tonight, as I share with you, I trust that you're going to be able to answer the question for your own life, as in, what is your purpose? Or what is my purpose? And that's what people are asking. And I trust that we're going to learn something from this little creature called the bee. So tonight, I want us to just think a little bit about the bee. And I'm not going to go into a lot of facts about the bee itself. I'm going to be using it as an illustration to help you find or seek or discover your personal purpose in life. And what's interesting about the bee is that it has a very short lifespan. You might not know this, but a bee lives for around 6 weeks. That's 42 days. I mean, what can you do in 42 days? What can a human being do in 42 days? Yet a bee is expected to fulfill its purpose in that short period of time. That might sound short. Let me tell you something. 21 days of that 42-day period is spent inside the hive, and the balance, the other 21 days, is spent in doing its work of flying to and fro from the hive itself. So 21 days inside the hive, 21 days outside the hive. They tell me that a bee can travel almost 35,000 kilometers. That's kind of able to fly around the planet in its short lifetime. I mean, this is incredible. You and I are sitting at home wondering how we're going to get just to the office and back. A bee just gets up and does what it was born to do. And in the process of doing what it loves doing, it travels 35,000 kilometers. I can imagine if you told a bee, listen, you got 42 days and 35,000 kilometers to travel. You better get moving. It's going to have a very interesting response. It's probably going to tell you exactly where to go. You know, we think about the modern day work environment and how easily people will picket or protest or demand something better, something different, something easier, so that they can make more money for less work. I can imagine if you told a bee that its job was to get out there every single morning and pollinate the flowers, it'll probably have a placard. It might say, "What do you expect me to get out there and pollinate the flowers? Do you know how dangerous that is?" I mean, the other day, Mary went into a flower and there was a spider waiting for her. And before she realized it, she was swallowed up. It might talk about the fact that when I go into a flower, I get covered in pollen. My hair gets put out of place. It's not I need to have not only danger pay, but you need to buy me special clothing so I don't get so dirty when I do the work that I do. I can imagine so many things that you and I would complain about if we were told that our purpose was to pollinate the flowers. But that's not the purpose of the bee. You might think the purpose of the bee is to feed all living things. And there's nothing wrong in thinking about that, because in reality, they tell me that 80% of all pollination is a direct result of the work of the bee. The other 20% of pollination is the result of wind, water, and other kinds of insects and human beings and animals. But the bee is responsible for 80% of the pollination that takes place. So surely you could come to the conclusion that the bee's purpose is to feed all mankind. But that's not why it gets up in the morning. It doesn't get up in the morning to feed you and me. You might think back like I do. My grandmother, wow, she made the best medicine on the planet. I mean, we used to go to my grandmother just to have a teaspoon of her lemon and honey mix. I mean, it didn't matter what kind of illness we had. We got a teaspoon of honey and lemon. And that was so, so nice. You know, if you had a sore throat, she might even warm it up and give you this sweet tasting remedy, the best medicine on the planet. I miss that medicine. In fact, I'm thinking about making myself some tonight. You know, we think about remedies. Honey is an amazing thing. It doesn't go off. You know, it has enzymes in it that it can just last and last and last and last. Yes, it might go sugary, it might turn elsewhere, but it has so many valuable properties. I mean, they even found that you will find in certain cosmetics, shampoos, body lotions, whatever, there is honey extracts in those particular things. So there's so much that can be done with the product that a bee creates. And you might think that surely a bee has many purposes. I don't know if you've experienced a bee sting. Well, certainly I have experienced a bee sting, and not just once, maybe a number of times. You know, my mother is allergic to bees, and the result of her getting a bee sting is quite something different. I mean, if a bee stings her, she's got to immediately take a tablet. She's got to get to a doctor or else, you know, and there are people that have died as a result of a bee sting. And one could say, well, maybe that's the purpose of a bee. But I would like to say that a bee is so passionate about its purpose that it is willing to die to protect it. Willing to die to protect it. You might be sitting there and saying, well, you know something, I had honey on my breakfast this morning. So clearly that's what the bee is supposed to do. You know, it's for my enjoyment. It may be you add it to your tea. You know, in South Africa, some people add honey to their tea, or maybe in the United Kingdom, or those tea drinkers out there. And so we could become confused as to what the purpose of the bee is. But the bee gets up every morning with one objective, and that objective is to do what it is passionate about doing. And you know, a bee is passionate about making honey. It gets up in the morning, and you know what it does? It looks for something beautiful. It looks for something attractive. It looks for a flower. It gets up. It doesn't matter what kind of flower it is. It can be any flower, as long as it's a flower. The tree cannot speak to the bee. But what the tree does, what the plant does, is it puts a flower out. It does some marketing, puts a flower out, and immediately the flower blooms. The bees can smell it, they can find it, they can track it, they can find exactly where that flower is. Not only that, but they are like a little GPS. I mean, they tell every other bee in the hive exactly where those flowers are. So the rest of the team can travel to that section of flowers and extract that wonderful, sweet smelling nectar. I mean, they take that nectar out there, and that nectar, it energizes them. It feeds them. It enables them to fly around the planet. It enables them to do all kinds of things, even to make the honey of their lifetime. And you might be wondering, well, how much honey does a bee actually make while it travels 35,000 kilometers going from flower back to hive to flower back to hive? They estimate that the average bee makes 1 teaspoon of honey in its lifetime. I don't know how much honey you put on your toast, on your French toast, perhaps in the morning. I don't know how much honey you put on your porridge. I don't know how much honey you put in your tea. But you could have put an entire lifetime's worth of honey in your mouth in 1 teaspoon. And you might think, is it worth it? Well, the bee gets up every single day and it does what it loves doing. It doesn't get paid a cent. What it does feeds the bee. Not only does it feed the bee, but it makes so much of what it loves doing that it feeds mankind. It does all the other things that I mentioned. So the bee has a particular purpose, but there's also a higher purpose. The higher purpose is to feed mankind, to make sure that the trees, the plants can propagate and fulfill their mandate to vegetate the planet. The bee ensures that fruitfulness happens. It does all those things. There is a higher purpose, but it doesn't get up in the morning knowing that that's what it is achieving. The higher purpose is a consequence of it doing what it was born to do. You and I are sometimes seeking the glory, the name in neon lights, the trophy. We're seeking the higher purpose, but that doesn't give us fulfillment. That doesn't get us up in the morning. What gets us up is doing what we are passionate about, what we love doing, what can put a smile on our face 7 days a week. That's what gets us up. That's what ignites our purpose. Ignites our life. That's what brings us fulfillment. And just in the process, by the way, when we do what we are born to do, we do something far greater, and that is we glorify God in the process. So find your purpose. In today's world, it's a case of show me the money, honey. Show me the money, honey. I'm sick and tired of people talking to me about money. Why can't you do what you're supposed to be doing? Well, I don't have the money. Why haven't you achieved this particular objective? I don't have enough money. Money has become the god of this world. I think most people bow down in the morning and pray to money. Or they pretend to believe in God and they pray to God for money. Money seems to be their solution to everything. If you're not making money, then you're not contributing in a worthy way. I want to think differently about that. I think we are here to make honey. And if we make honey, it will feed us. It'll feed the next generation. It'll feed others that we don't even know. So the big question is not show me the honey. Sorry, show me the money, honey, but rather show me the honey. Because where the honey is, the provision will follow. Everything that you need is tied in, intertwined with the thing that you are passionate about. And by the way, a bee doesn't operate in isolation. It's part of a bigger team. It's just one part of thousands. They all work together. In the same way, your and my purpose are there to complete one another. We're not here to compete against each other. We're here to complete one another. And so the bee can teach us that in its short life, it can do so much. What then can you and I do in our longer life? So many people are interested in how long we live. You know, how many days are there in your life, as opposed to how much life is there in your days. That's what we should be interested in, is how many heartbeats were passionately beating and pumping enthusiasm through your body. How many heartbeats were filled with passion? How many heartbeats were filled with the love for what you do? This is what should be our focus. Albert Einstein was attributed to saying this, and I've also heard that someone else said it originally. So I'm not too sure who the person is who gave this quote, but one of them said this: where your gifts and talents and the needs of society intersect, therein lies your vocation. The things that you are naturally gifted in and the needs that those gifts can meet help you to identify what your passion is. You need to go and find your flower. In fact, the flower, when you see the flower, you will instantly recognize and say, that's what I was born to do. I'm heading to that flower because there is nectar. It's going to feed me. When you taste that nectar for the first time, it's an instant recognition that this is my passion. This is what I will love to do for the rest of my life. Sadly, we have been convinced that we should first work for provision, and when we've got the provision, then follow our purpose. I want to tell you, your provision lies within your purpose. And if we can connect with that, we're going to have an exciting future and an exciting life that lies ahead. I want to just give you a few tips over here, perhaps, and that is, ask yourself, what are the things that other people have recognized you for? And when I say recognize, I say, goodness me, you do that so well. And you know that you've never had any formal training to engage in what they've just commended you for. That's an indication that it is a gift. Maybe your parents noticed something in you when you were at a young age, before you even went to school. They said, my goodness me, this child is gifted in this area. And as a parent, it's your responsibility to understand what your child's gifting is and give them every opportunity to explore that gifting so that they can identify with their passion. So when they are older, they do not depart from that way. It's important to do that. So if your parents are still alive, ask them the question, hey, mom, dad, what did you see what were my natural giftings and talents when I was growing up? Because you see, the school is not interested in your natural gift and talent. They have been commissioned by the corporate environment via the government to turn you into a slave, to turn you into something useful to them. And that's not what God created you for. God did not create you to be enslaved. He entrusted you with something that was world changing. It's called a purpose. So to connect with that purpose, I've got to ask myself, what emotional connection do I have with the needs that are identified in society? Now, there are many needs that the media is going to tell you about. There's many needs that the television is going to try and communicate to you. But those are generally trying to distract you from what your purpose really is. The needs that you identify with are the ones that will make you feel compassion. They will make you feel anger. They will maybe make you feel like crying because nobody is addressing that particular need. And at some point, you're going to be lying awake at night and wondering why on earth is nobody doing something about this need. And suddenly you will realize that, hang on, but I can do something. I have the gifts and talents. I can start. And immediately you have that realization that you are the one born to stand in the gap. I think that's the moment that you discover your purpose. I hope that what I've shared with you this evening has helped you in some way to take the first steps to begin to identify and step into your life purpose and calling. It's been a great joy and a great pleasure to speak with you and share this message with you this evening. And I trust that as we end the session, that Miguel is going to share something exciting about Map for Life. I'd like to invite you to join us, become a member of the MAP Club. Every week we have mentorship sessions, accountability sessions, opportunities for you to constantly prepare for the future. If you're not yet part of a MAP Club, make contact with us. You'll find our contact details on our website, right on the top above the menu. Send us a WhatsApp message. We will immediately communicate with you and link you up with a MAP Club so that you can become part of the team of people who are touching lives and transforming people. Thank you so much. Remember, next week is MAP Show 139. We are well on our way to being here for 3 years, every single Wednesday evening. By now, it should be part of your plan. You should be joining us every single Wednesday. We'd love to have you join us. And why not share your comments and perhaps also join us in the panel. Thank you so much to Gustav from Pretoria and Ronald all the way from Uganda joining me this evening in the comment section. I've appreciated you being part of the show. Have a wonderful week, and remember to make life purposeful. Have a wonderful time and make this week count. Good night.
Muy buenos días a todos. I am Miguel Sanz from Madrid, Spain. I started using Map for Life back in 2016, where this picture here, where I am with Glen, belonged to that year in the training I did in Pretoria. And you know, there are many talks, many talks out there in internet, in real life, where great speakers tells you that you are unique, that you need to find your purpose, what you need to do in life. You end up out of those talks really happy, but naked, because you have no tools. What's Map for Life? Map for Life gives you the tools to achieve your goals, to be precise, to do all the things you need to do to achieve them. You are unique. Be mapped.